please go to Finnegans Wake Notes.net for a full explanation of the text, and please don't forget to hit the like button.
Welcome to episode 24 of the Reading Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast, where we analyze Finnegans Wake by James Joyce 3 pages at a time. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment to support us.
Okay, so let's unpack this next section. We are diving into pages 78 through 81 of Finnegans Wake. And, well, it's famously dense, isn't it? Highly symbolic.
It really is.
But if you, our listener, are looking for maybe not a shortcut, but a path through this bit about death, conflict, and, well, absolute filth.
And you've definitely tuned into the right deep dive. This passage is, I think, critical. It sort of crystallizes the whole mechanism of the Wake.
In a really vivid way. Sometimes, yeah, pretty gruesome.
Definitely gruesome at times. So our mission today really is to track HCE's supposed death and then his resurrection. Follow that journey from the depths, the mythological underworld, right up to the commercial surface.
And then connect that to all the conflict swirling around him. Exactly. The historical chaos, how it all intertwines. And it culminates really in the testimony of Kate Strong, the Scavenger. Her perspective is foundational.
All set in Phoenix Park, of course, with all its layers.
Right. And the core insight we want you to take away is this idea. Every fall pretty much guarantees a rise. And maybe, just maybe, the best way to read history is by looking at its trash heap.
That idea, reading history from a trash heap, it just feels so perfectly Joycean, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So let's start with that cycle. HCE's return. It doesn't kick off with an action, does it? It's more like an inevitability. Page 78, line 7. But abide Ziet's summon serving, rise after fall.
Yeah, that phrase is just a fantastic opener for this whole Viconian cycle theme.
Yeah.
It stresses the sheer persistence, the human condition, and using Ziet the German for time.
Right. That makes it universal immediately.
Precisely. It's not just HCE getting a wake-up call. It's framed as a universal law. Falling is just something you owe time, and rising again, that's mandatory.
And the way he comes back is, well, it's terrifying. Blue Blutz bolted from the tomb.
It's like an electric shock, isn't it? A really primal, maybe not even spiritual force just yanking him out.
And he knows the hinge worms of his grave, the mechanics of his own decay down there.
Yes, he's literally burrowing out of habitationlessness, escaping that void. And look at the places he passes through Gehenna, Sheol, Sheol.
Really heavy references, ancient guilt, cultural memory packed in there.
They're Jewish terms for the underworld, often linked to hell or just profound misery. So HCE's death, his burial, it's soaked in this cultural shame, historical sin. His resurrection is, in a way, him coming to terms with all that ancestral suffering.
It's described like a subterranean journey, right? Seam by seam through the earth from the underworld. But what really jumps out at me is where he's heading. The target.
Ah, yes. The upper crust sidereal of Utilitarios.
What exactly is going on there?
Well, this tells us a lot about HCE, upper crust, that's aristocracy, sure, but also the Earth's surface, and maybe even the human head, the intellect. And siderea points to iron. Specifically, it links to Upper Silesia, that region famous for iron mines industry, but also constant political fighting between Poland and Germany.
So this isn't some kind of spiritual heavenly resurrection we're talking about?
Not at all. It's industrial, commercial.
Yeah.
It's a rebirth into the world of utility and, frankly, exploitation.
So his persistence isn't just metaphysical, it's economic. He's the hoarder hidden, spreading his pluter-popular progenium, his wealth, his offspring.
Pots and pans and pokers and puns.
Exactly. That's the evidence of his return to society.
Precisely. The pots and pans, they link straight back to his trade as a publican, a merchant. Maybe even that old Irish spirit grocery idea, part pub, part hardware store, part general shop.
So he just permeates society at every practical level.
Right. The cycle ensures that this merchant figure, this commercial force, always comes back no matter how disgraced the individual HCE might seem. He's sort of the bedrock of the social structure.
But the whole idea of his death is still shaky, isn't it? That's where the Seán reference comes in, the Irish myth.
Yeah, Seán mac Mal Michel. Buried 7 times Septically, because the earth itself kept rejecting his body, casting it back up.
So HCE's burial was doomed from the start, fundamentally impermanent.
It underscores that the fall, in the Wiccan sense, just can't stick, can't be final, which leads right into that amazing description of his decay, or rather, his lack of decay.
Putrefaction, dreyfused as ever, began to ramp Okay, let's pause on that. That phrase is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It absolutely is. You've got putrefaction, the rotting,
Mixed with petrifaction, turning to stone,
and party factions, the political infighting.
and then the big one, Dreyfus, the Dreyfus affair.
That connection, I
Yeah.
think, is absolutely key to understanding HCE's guilt. Alfred Dreyfus, wrongly accused of treason in France, sparked this huge political and anti-Semitic firestorm.
So HCE's decay isn't biological rot, it's more like political slander.
That's how I read it. It suggests his perceived moral decay, his rejection by society. It's all driven by false accusations, by warring political factions. He's Dreyfused as ever, forever the accused, forever the scapegoat.
And while he's supposedly decomposing down there, he's also moving. Ramp, ramp, ramp. Like tramping.
Yes, like the Civil War song, "Tramp, tramp, tramp, the boys are marching." He's refusing to just lie down in his watery grave. But the opposition, his accusers, they have their own theory about how he's surviving.
It's pretty grotesque, isn't it?
Oh yeah, they call him Masa Iwaka, using that kind of slave dialect term for master.
Right.
And I think he's just hibernating. Their theory is that this legendary glutton, remember, he supposedly ate his own length of rainbow trout and piles of sweets.
That links to the Barmecide's feast, the illusory one.
Exactly. So
Okay.
now they think he's sustaining himself down in the dirt.
Ow! The image Joyce uses is just unforgettable.
Like the great crested grebe or the salmon doing the ladder leap up the falls. He's secretly by suckage feeding on his own misplaced fat.
Wow, so he's literally consuming his own past sins, his own excesses.
That's the high-level insight here, I think. He's feeding on his accumulated moral and material fat to keep up this illusion of survival underground. It's a stunning metaphor for self-sustaining corruption.
The patriarch, disgraced, underground, fueling himself with the very gluttony that brought him down.
He is his own illusory feast. It proves that the sins of the past are, in a way, the only fuel available for the present state.
But that hibernation, that grotesque feeding, it gets interrupted, doesn't it, by constant conflict, which takes us right into those battlefield descriptions starting around 78.15. History just compresses itself.
It really does. The location itself is layered. The other spring offensive on the Heights of Abraham.
Okay, unpack that. Heights of Abraham, Quebec.
Yes, the 1759 Battle of Quebec, Wolfe defeating Montcalm, a major historical turning point, but also
the German Spring Offensive, 1918.
right, that massive bloody push in World War I, and then just Abraham, the patriarch, suggesting brother against brother conflict, maybe the American Civil War even.
Those Civil War echoes feel strong, especially with the next line. With the Pope or on the Pope?
Yeah, that's a direct reference to General John Pope, the Union general, but it cleverly blends military leadership with religious and political divides. Pope, the general, versus the Pope in Rome.
And the fighters themselves are a mix, too. Celtiberian camps, ancient stuff.
Ancient mixing of Celts and Iberians, yeah.
Yeah.
And then a very direct Irish division, New South Ireland and Vetera Ulad.
The 1922 Free State versus ancient Ulster, the partition trauma, right there.
Absolutely, and the visual contrast hammers it home. Blue men, pill faces.
Blue men, like dark-skinned warriors. Celts, maybe Vikings, Moors. Contrasted with pill faces, pale Anglo-Irish or English.
It sets up that timeless conflict, native versus colonizer, dark versus light, and crucially, how these conflicts are always justified.
The justification. Joyce immediately undercuts that, doesn't he? The claim that the war was on the purely defensive.
Total irony. It's a jab at every nationalist anthem, every religious claim that insists God is owl-wise on their side every time.
So the conflict is just cyclical, pointless, fueled by self-righteousness.
Exactly. And look where it leads. Regardless of who claims God's support, the destination is Bologna's black bottom, once Woolwhite's waltz. Now that line is powerful cultural commentary.
Okay, let's really dig into that one. Bellona, Roman goddess of war.
Right, so this is literally war's black bottom and Woolwhite's waltz. That suggests something pure, maybe innocent, perhaps the high European culture, the German waltz tradition, a state of perceived grace.
Compared to the black bottom, which was, well, this is a dance craze in the 20s, right? African-American origin.
Highly sensational, syncopated, and viewed by many moral conservatives at the time as vulgar, definitely tarnished, becrimed, a sign of cultural decay.
So the insight here is that Joyce sees conflict itself as an agent of cultural, well, degeneration.
I think, though, War doesn't lead to some heroic climax, it leads to a dance craze. A frantic, morally ambiguous, rapidly modernizing cultural shift that pushes aside high ideals for something low, sensational. The black bottom is where the old culture goes to die, or at least get radically reshaped by forces the conservatives hated.
And the landscape itself is confusing, reflecting this moral fog. The plain is involved in darkness.
That's a classical echo, isn't it? Like the magical battles between the Druid Luchat Mail and St. Patrick, where darkness covered the land. Conflict happens where you can't see clearly, where clarity is impossible.
And it's in that gloom that HCE, the victim, gets misidentified by his attacker, the bully on the hill.
Right. They see the person garroted, the strangled victim, as the first old wugger of himself in the flesh, Wigissimus incarnadined.
Okay, wugger, that's a slur, right? For a dark-skinned native or foreigner.
Yes, derogatory. And he's also Wigissimus, ultra-liberal, like an extreme Whig politician, and incarnadined, meaning bloodstained, probably with his own blood from the attack.
So he's the racial enemy, the political enemy, the moral enemy, all rolled into one figure, covered in the evidence of, well, supposedly his own crime, but actually the attack on him.
And that's the core of why the conflict is cyclical. He's attacked because he's seen through this lens of fear, political prejudice. The attacker's vision might even be false-sighted, foreseen, maybe, but mistaken.
Reinforcing the idea that the conflict isn't based on reality, but on these ingrained, confused biases against the outsider, the old wugger.
It's the constant return of xenophobia, political labeling, fighting a scapegoat.
So we've seen the confused, politically charged view of the attackers. Now we shift perspective dramatically, don't we? Away from the mythic heights, down to the muck.
Down to Phoenix Park, and the absolutely crucial testimony of Kate Strong. This shift is vital. We move from the history written by generals to the history written in sewage.
And the text explicitly sets this in the pagan Iron Times,
Yeah.
suggesting, what? A harsher, more primal era.
Yeah, a time when life was maybe less regulated, morality more fluid, and you see that immediately in the descriptions of sexuality.
Right. Venuses were gigglably temptatrix, Vulcans guffably eruptious, and the women are fuckful of fickles.
It suggests a kind of raw sexual freedom that maybe contradicts later, more rigid Christian ideas. It's incredibly earthy.
Extremely. It goes right into descriptions of defecation, the leaf as a friend in need to carry soil.
And the reference to the bear godkin, that's playing on Shakespeare's bear bodkin, a small dagger, but also slang for penis, and it links directly to Michael Bodkin.
Nora Barnacle's first love interest.
Exactly. And those cries of Lugod, Lugadoo, it sounds like God or the god Lu, but also two, maybe suggesting some ancient dualistic phallic worship.
And that instability extends to marriage, doesn't it? That checklist of locations.
Arbor, bucket room, caravan ditch, coach, carriage, wheelbarrow, dung cart.
It's like a downward spiral of status. From a nice garden setting to a manure cart reflects the precariousness of love and home life back then.
Which brings us squarely to Kate Strong herself. She's not some mythic figure. She was a real person, a 17th century Dublin scavenger widow.
Known for being, well, a bit of a tyrant. Collected tolls but didn't do much cleaning.
That's the history, yeah. An entrepreneur of sorts. And she pulls out a Lane picture, like a little scene, a diorama.
Referencing the Sir Hugh Lane art bequest controversy.
Yes, but her art is old dumpland. Old Dublin as an old dump.
And her picture is glowing and very visual, vivid but also widowed, like her. But the content, it's the foulest inventory you can imagine.
The specifics are crucial. This is the historical record according to Kate.
Let's hear some of it. It's quite something.
Droppings of biddies, stinking pushies, mogies duggies, rotten witcha-wobbles, festering rubbages, and beggars' bullets.
Okay, biddies are chickens. Pushies, moggies cats, presumably. Moggies duggies. Female anatomy are cat remains. Witch wobbles, rotten vegetables?
Probably. Festering rubbish is clear. And beggars' bullet stones, probably used as missiles in riots or fights. Social unrest captured in the trash.
And salmiferious germs. Germs from salmon or trout. Could that link back to HEE's gluttony?
Very possibly. Flying through the broken smithereen panes of the family's windows. This isn't just random trash. It's the physical evidence of decay, violence, even attacks on the family home.
And Kate tells us exactly where she dumped all this.
Near the Serpentine in Fornix Park. That's a deliberate mashup.
Thinking the Serpentine Lake in London's Hyde Park, known for suicides, especially women.
With Dublin's Phoenix Park. And using Fornix, the Latin word for a brothel or archway associated with prostitution. So the site itself is marked by transgression and death.
And the naming of the spot gets even more layered. It was Finewell's keepsaker.
suggesting maybe Clearwater, a keepsake place,
Yeah.
linked perhaps to the Liffey nearby. But later it becomes Tauta Baptost Pat's Purge.
Whoa. Okay. Todd, like again and again, a baptos, like baptism, but also Pat's Purge.
Which collapses so much history. St. Patrick's Purgatory, the place of penance. And Pride's Purge, the 1648 expulsion of royalists from the English Parliament.
So the dump, the absolute filthiest spot, becomes the site of purification, historical judgment, and spiritual renewal all at once.
It's an incredible concentration of meaning. And it's in this purified filth that the evidence of HCE's crime or the attack on him is found.
The site is described as Dangerfield circling Butcher's Wood. Strong literary echoes there.
Very strong. The Fanuz novel, The House by the Churchyard, is set partly in Phoenix Park, featuring crimes and duels in places like Butcher's Wood. Dangerfield is a character name.
And what's found in the muck? The evidence.
Fossil footprints, boot marks, finger signs, elbow dints, breech bowls, ASO. Kate's dump is the forensic record.
More detailed than any official history book, the physical marks of the struggle preserved in the garbage.
Exactly. And then the narrator poses this profound rhetorical question, basically asking, what subtler time place could possibly hide a precious book, a Liebhaar like the Book of Kells, maybe?
And Viking invaders, the Thursmans, brandy hands.
Or hide a secret love letter with its hint of Oedipal transgression, lust on Ma, and maybe a nod to Boston, Mass, or Better Than Here.
Here where ructions ended, then here where race began.
This is it, the time place, the dump. It's where conflict ends, but it's also where the human race, the cycle, begins again. It's where the first babe of reconcilement is laid in his last cradle of Hume, sweet Hume.
Birth and burial, the Viconian cycle in its purest, messiest form. Home sweet home becomes Hume, sweet Hume. David Hume, the philosopher, maybe, but also humus, the earth.
Cradle and grave, war and peace, all in the same heap of refuse. The deepest truth is literally buried in the trash.
Which leads to that command. Give over it and no more of it, so pass the pick for child's sake.
Telling us or someone to stop arguing and start digging. Dig for the secret, the letter, the child hidden in this sacred filth.
And right after that call to dig, that revelation of the cycle, boom, the voice of authority arrives.
The divine command, signaled by the voice of all highest sprach for Christians as for propaganda fides.
Okay, all highest. That's Kaiser Wilhelm's title.
Yes, mixed with Nietzsche, maybe Zarathustra speaking. Then Krishna, the Hindu deity, and the propaganda fide, the Vatican's office for spreading the faith.
So it's this mashup of imperial, philosophical, Eastern, and Western religious authority, a unified cosmic law.
And the law itself asserts cosmic permanence. Every mortal man of us, poem by poem, falls back into this terrene. As it was let it be, says he.
Mortal, like mortal, maybe shape-shifting. Poem, like poem or apple or potato, falling back into the terrene, the earthen dish.
It's the liturgy of eternal return. As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. But enforced by this council of syncretic ancient gods.
And as the memory of Noah's flood, the Noric memory recedes, we glimpse these gods.
Agni, the fire god. Mithra, light. Shiva, destruction. Mayamutra's illusion, the great seal. It's saying the ancient powers that create and destroy are still fundamentally in charge, just temporarily withdrawn.
And the true origin of civilization in Vico's theory is invoked, the thunderclap.
Jove speaking through the ward of the wind in the woods. That terrifying sound that scares the primitive giants into huddling together, forming the first society.
It's an incredible shift, though, from that high cosmic philosophy straight into, well, basically telling the kids to get lost.
Yeah, it's a necessary blast of low comedy after the high theology. The divine command just flows right into this very crude, very Irish scolding.
Lev that bloody stone as it is. What are you doing, your dirty minx and his big tree block way up your path?
Okay, lav meaning leave, but maybe also wash. The bloody stone could be a boundary marker, or maybe the stone of destiny, but the whole thing is loaded.
Definitely sounds like sexual puns. Minx sounds like minxit, Latin for she urinated, and tree block like a tree stump being used inappropriately.
It seems like the girls, representing maybe the next generation's romantic energy, maybe rebellion, are being told to stop messing with sacred things, get away from this scene of transgression.
And they certainly flee quickly.
Like Gish, a nod to the silent film actress Lillian Gish, famous for her dramatic flights. They gushed away, the penny fares, a whole school for scamper.
The little pearly pets, the girls who paid their penny fare for the tram.
And they're shouting their destination, which anchors us right back in Dublin's geography. Ici La Chapelle. Any Lucans, please.
That's exactly what the tram conductor would shout on the line running through Chapelizod. Aix-la-Chapelle, sounding like Aix-la-Chapelle, Charlemagne's capital, but meaning Chapelizod here, towards Lucan.
Taking them away from HCE's drama onward towards their own stories.
And the final passage seems to reflect on this journey, the road itself.
Starts with that philosophical defense of infrastructure, almost. Yes, the viability of vicinals, if invisible is invincible.
Vicinals, like local roads, byroads.
Exactly. The unseen, mundane network that keeps things going. It has an invincible persistence, echoing Caesar's Veni, Vidi, Vici. These small paths are society's arteries.
And we're reminded, not trespassing on his corns, not walking on HCE's grave, respecting the dead, that ancient taboo.
And then the road becomes this grand metaphor, contrasting legendary achievement with brutal reality. If this was Hannibal's walk, it was Hercules' work.
Hannibal crossing the Alps, military genius, heroism. Hercules. His work was often grueling, dirty labor.
Specifically, shoveling the Augean stables, a massive, filthy task. So the point is,
Great achievements, the heroic walks, they're built on backbreaking, messy, unpleasant labor. Hercules' work.
and it's deepened by the link to the Tyrian Hercules, the god Hannibal worshipped, tying that base labor even to prophecy and divine will.
But the human cost of that labor is made brutally clear.
100,000 of the unemancipated slaved the way.
That hits hard. It's a direct reference to the famine roads in Ireland, isn't it?
Absolutely. Built by starving, emaciated Irish laborers, the unemancipated, often in return for minimal food relief during the Great Famine.
So for an Irish reader especially, this is a devastating line. The road forward, the path the girls are now taking, is literally paved with the trauma of starvation and exploitation.
That's the cost of progress, the cost of the road. We pass the mausoleum of the father figure, the multi-populapator, father of multitudes.
Marking the miles with Seid Mílfelt, 100,000 welcomes, or mile.
In the summary, the past has made us this present of a reader road. The road is a gift from the past, but a costly one.
The final stop, where a punder in the fane of Saint Fiacre.
The shrine of the Irish saint of travelers, gardeners, and cab drivers, funnily enough, since his name gave us fiacre for Parisian hackney coaches.
And that last warning, if he's not a Romeo, you may scallop your hat.
Connecting the romantic figure, Romeo, with the pilgrim's badge, the scallop shell worn by those who went to Santiago de Compostela, the journey might lead to love, or it might be a kind of pilgrimage. You need to be ready for either outcome, maybe adjust your hat accordingly.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. What are the key takeaways from this really dense dive?
Well, first, HCE's fall is absolutely cyclical. His resurrection isn't spiritual. It's fundamentally commercial, self-sustaining. He literally feeds on his past guilt and excess.
Second, conflict, whether it's ancient tribal stuff, the Civil War, WWI, or Irish politics, it seems, driven by misidentification, by political slander, seeing the opponent as Dreyfust, as Wigissimus, as the enemy stereotype.
Right. And third, maybe most crucially, the real history, the essential record, the place where reconciliation might actually happen. It's not in the grand narratives. It's in the lowest place.
Kate Strong's garbage dump in Phoenix Park.
That subtler time place, where the foundational trauma, the footprints, the beggar's bullets are preserved. The text really forces you to see that the base reality, the labor, the filth, the transgression, is what underpins all the grand stories.
The heroic walk needs the Herculean shoveling first.
Couldn't put it better.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you, our listener, to maybe mull over, building on what we've discussed. If the deepest knowledge, the reconciliation, literally happens on a trash heap, and that specific trash heap is where the evidence of the father figure's crime or transgression is recorded, what does that suggest about the connection between shame and revelation? Think about it. Is human history, all our official stories, maybe just a massive conscious effort to look away from that foundational truth hidden in the filth? What exactly are we trying to hide when we focus only on the heroic walk and ignore the back-breaking, messy work that made it possible?